All right. So in this part of the video, you should by now have already created your covers, front and back, and you should have your signatures all prepared with their holes for the stations and grouped together as your liking. And I like to keep things the way I want it to end up like this is the front cover, and I've got all my pages organized to the way that they should be when it's done. Does that make sense? And the back cover is on there. I made sure that the inside cover is good. It's dry. The glue is dried sufficiently. It's not going to come apart. And yeah, so we're now ready to stitch everything together. For that, what you'll need is, of course, I'm going to use a curved needle. You can use a straight needle, but I think the curved needle is much easier, or it gives you less problems. And then you will need, of course, your waxed coated or waxed thread. And this is a 0.8 millimeter. That's a 0.8 millimeter thickness. I guess they call this a heavy duty wax thread. 210D is the size, in case you're wondering if you know about that. All right. They come in different colors, by the way. I got this off of Amazon, basically. And I chose gold or orange to go with this blue. So you should have your covers to your liking, your design, your paint job, what have you. If you have got it covered in fabric, that's fine. Okay, let's get started. The other things you might need, well, before we get started, is scissors and maybe a knife, a blade, an X12, just in case. And I think that's it. Oh, this is wax. I don't think this came waxed, so I don't know if I have a need for this, but I don't know. I just have it around just in case, I guess. I have it, so. Okay, well, let's get started. So for the first thing, let's get a little close-up of the details here. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to take the thread and I'm going to measure out about 15 lengths. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, about there, probably should do it. Since I've got 9 signatures, 9 stations, each of these lines is called the station. And I've got the front and back cover, 9, 10, 11, and then, about 15. Length should work. Maybe I'm a little overkill, longer on that, but that's okay. I just got extra just in case. So let's cut that to length. And now, the trick is with this is if you get this to go through, and if you can see this, darn it. Okay, that's where the wax comes in, handy. Just gonna put some wax on there with my thumb. Give it a little twist. some ample amount of wax on there. And that should help it to be stiff enough to go through the eye of the needle. Come on. There we go. All right, if you can see that. I'm going to take this tag end here. I'm going to take the needle, and I'm going to go through maybe about halfway through this distance here. About maybe half the needle size, right? There's one and then there's two. And I'm going to go through this line, through this thread without poking my thumb. Just like that. I don't know if you could see that. Kind of skewered it. Little shish kebab. Now I'm going to bring this down the needle, and I'm going to just pull it over itself just like that. And I don't need to cinch it down too much, but just so it'll stay put. And that'll keep from getting this tag end to slip through the hole of the needle there. So that'll hold things in place. And now I've got my length measured out, and I've got my book ready to go. All right, so the first thing I want to do, I'm going to start from the front cover, and I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to take the cover and the first signature, and I'll leave the rest of it just up here. Just kind of out of the way here. There we go. And I want to orient this so I know this is my front. I'm going to open it this direction. And so I want to start on this bottom corner, which is this corner here. And I want to take my needle point and I want to go through that first hole here on this edge and pop it through. Come on. The other side. And try to keep everything together, which is a challenge. All right, I'm going to pull this through. "15 lengths is a bit much, but so is 9 stations. All right, so here's the other tag end. Whoa, of the line. I'm just going to have it out a few, maybe 3 or 4 inches out so it won't go through the hole. And now I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go through the top of the corresponding hole through the cover. And I'm going to go in here through that hole, pull it down, pull, pull, pull. To where it will be almost to the end here. But I'm not going to pull it too tight because I got that tag inside. But I will take my thread the entire length of thread now, and I will go, whoops, shake the camera, through this side, the inside of that, the thread that I just created through the hole in the cover. Okay, I'm merely going through the cover, and now I'm going to just go on this side of this line here that is going through the page. Just going to pull it tight, and I'm going to grab, make sure my tag inside is, there it is, has not gone through, and I may just hold it out here and then pull a little bit tight. So that's our first little station. And now I'm going to take this, I'm going to wrap it through once, through here, and being careful not to go through any of the threads. You know, I don't want to catch this. And just pull it through. Yeah, you don't want to catch any of the threads because learning the hard way, it will not allow you to pull tight later on. So now I've got kind of a loop there, which looks good. And now I'm going to take my needle back through the hole. This hole here, I'm going to make sure I'm going to clear that thread, going to go just to the right of that. And make sure I don't catch any. I'm going to open this up to make sure that I don't catch any of that thread that is already through the hole. Just like this. There we go. Yeah, I know this is a little long, but just make sure there's no tangles or no knots or anything, except for the one that we created. I'm going to hang on to that tag end here, hold on to it back behind the page, and just going to pull tight a little bit. And you should find it through the other side just like this. Okay, now I'm going to pull everything tight. Like so. And here's a good time to tie everything off. And I'm going to go ahead and make kind of a square knot. And I'm going to go, let's see, left over right, and through this hole here. I don't know if you can see that. Through the hole. I like to do it twice, so it's kind of almost a surgeon's knot. Once. I'm going to go through that bottom loop again, twice. And then I'm just going to pull the whole thing tight. So it should look like that. Nice and snug. And then you can clip this long tag in there if you want. Leave about maybe, I don't know, ½ inch or so it won't work its way loose. Now, going back to the stitching, I'm going to go through this second hole, pop through the other side, like so. Pull it all the way through. Whoops. Thusly. It should look like that on the inside. Pulling it nice and tight back in here. And now I'm going to go through the hole on the cover, the second hole here. Just like this. Guess you don't have to make this so long like I did. You could tie it midway through. And if you're going to tie it, you would tie it between these stitching areas here. You'd have a knot right in there in between the holes. But I don't want that, so I have this very, very, very long line to work with. Okay, so the next thing is I'm going to just take it, the whole shoot and match here, and just go around so it's on this inner part of this stitching here. So it's going to be on this left side of it there. So now I can take my needle, I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to have a lot of clearance. I'm going to make sure not going to go through this line in here. So I'm going to go underneath and go clear that little stitch there, because I don't want to hook up any part of that line, that thread. And then I'm just going to pull through. And through, and through, and through. And then you should see a little loop. It's going to wrap around that this line right there. Like that. Okay. Next step, I'm going to go right back into that hole again with the needle. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to go just to the right of that line that's going in. Like so. Trying to hold it together. Okay, see, I did catch this other line, darn it. So if that happens, I want to just make sure that I've got this tight, because later on when I try to tighten this without, with it having loose, and if it's going to go through here, it's hard to tighten because it's already gone through this other piece of thread there. Well, that happens. Just make sure everything's tight as you go. And then I'm going to go through this next hole here, pop it through. There we go. So that's what we've got so far. And once we're through over here, we want to go through the top hole in the cover. And make sure we don't knot up. And I'm going to bring this left side of this stitching, pull a little bit tight there. Gonna grab my needle. And we're gonna loop it through here, making sure I don't catch any other parts of the thread, and just pull that through. Okay, this is already getting to be kind of annoying having this long thread, but in the end I know it'll be worth it. So just got to deal with it, make sure it doesn't get into a knot like it just did there. Great. Well, gonna pull everything back through again. And we get to try this again here. Okay. Reversing everything out. Going back to my, looks like a figure 8 knot. Gonna undo this figure 8 somehow. Yeah, having this long of thread, well, it's necessary, but you just got to deal with it, and there we got rid of it. So I guess it's more line management here. Okay, let's try this again. We're going to go through this part here and clear it, just like that. Okay, so now we made our little loop. Pull it tight a little bit, and we're going to go right back into the hole again with the needle. And it helps to open this up first. And now I'm going to be careful not to catch that line this time. Pull that tight and bring it over. And we're going to try to go through towards the bottom right. Coming through. Yeah, that's better. I don't think I caught the thread that's in there already. And I'm going to already start this next one through here, just a place to hold my needle while I pull this through. There we go. All right, so yep, go through here, out this side. Looking good. And now we're going to go through the top, the cover. Let's see, we've got, this is done, so we got this next hole here. And pop it through. And I'm going to go around, since we want to be on the left side. I'm going to work the thread through this way. There we go. And just pull it snug a little bit. Next, I want to take the needle again and go through this bottom for the kettle stitch. Through there, I'm going to make sure that it's clear from the other piece of thread that's there, and pull it through. Carefully. Looks like it's getting twisted here. So what I like to do in that case is I take my line and take the twist out of it. So there we go. Yeah, your needle will be spinning around up there. Okay. So where were we? I went ahead and looped in there. So now we're going back through the hole, right? Back through the other side. And for that, I want to get to the middle again, where you can see the stitches inside, the pages of the signature. Find my needle. And we're going to pop through, being careful again not to poke through that other line that's there. That's tricky. I'm going to go down and to the right. There, I hope I didn't catch the other line. It looks okay so far. Nope. Not good. I did actually go through. So in this case, I'll take my awl and I'll separate it back out here like so. See how it's going through this other line there. I don't know if you can see that. So we don't want that. And so I'm going to work my way back through. Excuse me for a second. I'm going to work this thing back through that hole with my needle. There, got it. It worked its way out. So now I know it's not threading inside this other thread stitch there, and I can freely pull that one through. The other side, and if I pull tight, it should work. It's not working. There we go. That worked that time. Okay. We're good. Sometimes you just got to work it, got to figure things out. I just took this line and went underneath it, but okay. So now we're going through this other hole. Coming out the other side. Pulling it through. Until we've got it taut. My needle went on the floor. Okay, so now we're going through this hole on the cover, which is right there. Pop it through, other side, and I'm going to go back out this side here. If I just pull on this, it will just go through those two holes. All right, so now we're over here on the left side of that stitch. I'm going to pull a little tight. And now I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to loop it through underneath this loop here. Like this. And give it a nice pull. And here comes the tricky part again. Which is going through this hole. I'm going to look and see where, okay, the line is going, wants to go to the right of the hole, so I'm going to go left because I can see a little bit of daylight on either side there. I'm just going to pop that through and take advantage of seeing that daylight. Let's see what happens. Well, I missed. So let's align all the pages and try it again. Okay. Didn't go through. I'm going left of it this time. But it's not going through the side, so it takes some patience. I'm going to make sure all the pages are lined up, and I'm going to go straight through this time. I'm going to go through this other side and take my awl here and just go through the hole a little bit. That lines everything up, hopefully, to where I could pop through. Yes, it worked that time. Okay. Sometimes you just gotta work it. Pop through. Make sure it's not tangled. Yeah, we're good. If I pull this snug, it should tighten this down a little bit. There we go. All right. Next hole, here we go. Popping through. Through the other side. All good. What's the next step? Yep, through the cover. Pop it through this hole. Out the other side, and it's going to go through this section here. And I can just pull on this, and it should work its way through. Okay. Pull it snug a little bit. Next we do the loop through here, like so. Now I'm going clear around this thread post there, so I'm not going to catch anything again. And I'm going to work my line through there. Cinch it up a little bit. and back through the hole again. Only this time, I think I like to widen this hole out. Not too much, but so that I could have everything lined up so the needle will go through, and so I can have this hole that's wide enough so the needle will not catch any of this other line. I'm going to go down to the left this time. I can see a little bit of daylight coming through. Not daylight, but you know, the other side. And if I just stab that through there, we're good. All right. And I want to make sure I pull on this again. Not this one. This is the one I'm going through now. See, that's this part here. But this other line here, if I pull on that, it will cinch this down, so this won't be so loose. Pull it all the way through. Okay. And we just continue on to the next hole. So it is through. And back through the hole in the cover. Going around this side of it. Nice, there we go. So we've got 2 more to go. Whoops. I'll smack my tripod here. All right. So after we go through the cover, we want to go through this for the loop. There we go. I've learned that if you have this longer length of thread, oh no, that knots could be inevitable. This one, I think, yeah. I like these knots that are slippery knots that you just pull on it and they come out easily. I'm going to pull this tight a little bit. So that this is nice and taut as well. Pull that through. Okay. Next, we got to go through that hole again. And before I do that with the needle, I like widening the hole. Which gives me a little bit of daylight. I can see through. There we go. And there we are. And it just punches through nicely. So that's the next extra added step that I've added, which is putting the awl through the hole there to widen it up a little bit. Just a little bit. Now we're going to tighten this working end here. Like so. And that tightens this loop down. And so we're good. To the next hole. Pop it through the other side. And make sure things are not going to make a bird's nest here. All right. Whoops. So there is some loops going through some loops. Just Just going to break that up like so. Okay. And that should go through just fine. Bingo. Okay. And next we're going to go through that cover, top hole. And come through on the other side, going around this way. And I'm just going to pull this through. I've been dropping the needle there on the carpet on the floor there, just so I could manage this longer piece of thread. Okay. So that's through. Give it a good tug. Grab my needle off the floor. And what's the next step? Yep, they're going to loop it. Loop it through here. And so it's important that you've got your line coming back after you go through the hole. You end up over here on this left side of this stitch here. And then you're going to loop this around that with the needle, which is what I'm doing now. And that'll create a little loop to catch things, to make things a little tighter. And there we go. Okay. So now I've got this line going through that loop, and now I'm going to go through the hole, and that's going to cause this little kind of a knot, you know, in each of these things, each of those stations. And I like to, again, let's widen out that hole. Okay. So pull that nice and tight. I don't see any daylight here, but I'm going to create one now. Just a little bit. There we go. There. Now, I don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to show you what that daylight is, what I'm talking about. Can you see that through there? That's what I'm going to put my needle through. All right. And there it is. And I can check and make sure I didn't catch any of that other thread. And I'm going to pull on this tight end there to pull that down. Bring the line through. And there we have it. Stitch number 8. We got one more to go. Just dive that through the hole. Pop it on through. And keep an eye on things so that they will not get into a bird's nest. All right. And just like that. So, now at this point, I'm not going to, actually, I take it back. I'm getting ahead of myself. We need to go through this hole, don't we, for the cover? So yes, let's do that now. Pop that through. See you on the other side. Again, going on the left. And carefully go through to add the cover, pull it taut. Next, we go through for the loop stitch. There. And I'm going to pull the line tight. And it creates that nice little loop that we want to anchor it off. Now, I'm not going to go back through this hole. Instead, what we're going to do is add the other station, just like so. And now we're going to go through the whole of this next station here. So I'm going to flip this around now, show you what that looks like. Open this up. Pop that through the hole. And there we have it. Okay, so once that is through, make sure they're aligned like so. Okay. And now I'm going to go over just immediately into this next hole here and pull that through. And don't worry if it is loose like it is here. And whoops, just knocked my tripod with the camera. All right, so we can just pull this. And it'll start to pull together here. Now for the next looping thing is we're going to, now I'm going in this direction. I flip this thing over like, upside down or right side up, whichever. And I'm going to work my way this direction. So I want to loop things in that direction. So I'm going to loop there in this bottom thread or this stitching right there between your cover and the first station, which is this right there. That's where I'm going to take my loop and come through, making sure again I'm not catching any of that other thread down below or any existing thread that's there already. Pull through. Okay, so now I've gone through and looped through between that cover and that first station. And next we're going to go back into that hole again. So just like before, going to widen up the hole, plus align all the pages. And it's falling apart on me a little bit, so I'm going to pull that again. All right. And now go through the hole. Come through the other side. Next hole. Come on up. Whoops. Probably helps to have a clip. I didn't bring my, or I don't have any clips on me here. I would clip it here and here, possibly. But I'm just gonna, it's okay, I'm just gonna work it as I hang on to it here. Now I'm gonna loop it through. Again, between the cover and the first station here. Thusly. Pop through. And back out that other hole again. You can tell when you don't catch this existing thread there, when it just flows really freely through that. See that? It's just really loose and it's just not catching on anything. I'm going to pull that tight. Go through the next hole. Back through the last hole. And I'm going to show you a little thing that's different on this last hole before I put this other page on. Let's just pull this through, straighten out that line. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we're going to take it and do the loop stitch like we normally would do. Cover and first signature down below and pull it through. And tighten everything down, just like so. All right. So let's see. I want to keep things in order, so I got this stack, and this would normally be like this. So I'm going to grab my other signature down below that's loose from the pile this way, and that'll keep everything in order the way I've intended to be. So I picked this other one up that way, so I want to keep this order the same as intended. And let's see, I'm going to go through, I did my loop. And I'm trying to figure out something here, hold on. Yeah, so I'm just going to pop it through the hole of this next signature. If I can get it through here. Whoop, hand-eye coordination. Okay, here we go. All right. So there we go. And I noticed this loop or this line of thread is getting shorter ever so slightly, but not too short. It's still long. And we're going to dive through this next hole, just like so, so it comes out the other side. Pop my needle through. And make sure that it doesn't wrap up together. All right, so I like to, since I'm starting on this new signature, I'm going to flip this over thusly, because I like to work going outward in this direction. And again, I've gone through this first hole, came around through this next hole here, and I'm going to loop underneath to this second, or the first and second signature here. So this is the cover, this is the first signature, and this is the second signature. I'm going to put my needle right through here, through the first and second signature for that loop stitch. So here we go. I'm going to go through here. Right there, see that? Dive down to clear the thread that's existing and pop out through the other side. Come on. It's grabbing onto my needle there. Okay. See how deep I've got my needle? I don't want to grab that stitch there or that thread. And I'm going to just pop through. So clearly, I'm not getting that other thread because I have done that and it causes problems. It causes it so that you can't pull things tight. So I'm very careful not to grab the other stitching or to grab the other piece of thread that it's already there. All right, there we go. So that's in place. I'm going to align things up. Get a bit of pull here. So at the beginning here, just make sure you got things snug. It's going to be loose on you, things moving around, but that's okay. Eventually it'll tighten up as you go along, as you just tighten things up there. All right, so now we're ready to go back through the hole. And let's see. I said I like to flip it over like this, but in this case, because I'm using the awl here to widen the hole, I may have to work this way. There we go. Through the same hole. I'm not making a new hole or anything, just going through the same hole with just widening it up just a little bit. To where I can now put my needle through that hole. Like so. And there it is. Checking to see if this is loose. It is a little bit, so I'm going to pull it. There we go, it's better, it's tighter. And immediately jump into this next hole. So this is loosening up here, so I'm going to give this a nice tug to pull things in and pull that through there. I'm trying to keep things together without moving too much now. Now I realize that I have flipped the thing over and I'm working this way. And we started over here on this side. We've gone through hole number 2, hole 3. And so because of that, I'm working this way. I want to put my stitching, through the first and second signature this way. Does that make sense? Since I'm working down this direction, I want to stitch in that direction through this first and second signature right there, right? First and second signature. And I'm going to be careful not to grab, again, any of the existing thread. And I'm holding on too tight here, so it's not allowing me to come through. Oh, there we go. All right, there it is. Pull that through. Okay, so now we're back, and I've got a few more stations to stitch, and it looks like I got a rip maybe there, and I've got one last signature to add plus the back cover. So I'll go through this, show you how to put on the rest, to assemble the rest of these items, and let's just continue on with the camera on. So, okay, where are we? All right, I'm through this side here. I'm going to go through my next hole, just like so. bring the thread through. Go through this stitch here. Bring it around. Kind of tight there, which is a good thing. And I'm going to pull it through. And I'm going to tighten it up there. Punch through the same hole, widen it up a little bit so I don't catch the other existing thread. And I'm going to make sure that is loose because I don't want to catch any of that thread there. Okay. Yeah, we're pretty reamed out as far as the hole. That's better. I don't know if I should adjust this camera angle a little lower, like so. And how about that? Is that better? Camera angle wise, let's see. Yeah, maybe. I'll raise it up a little bit. Okay, that should probably work. All right. Pull that through. Next hole. All right, so rinse and repeat. Yeah, tighten that down. Make my loop stitch from that last signature that I added. Go through, bring my needle out through, pull the thread, and I'm going to give it a nice tug. I like to ream the hole. You know, I mentioned that this is my first time stitching. Actually, I should say this is my first book that I've stitched together, but not my first time stitching. I did stitch this before, but I wasn't happy with it. So I undid the entire thing and I'm starting again from the beginning. And I'm recording it for you guys. So I have learned from experience what not to do. That's why I'm being careful not to get another piece of this other thread that's there, because I've had problems with that in the past. The first time I did this. And I'll explain to you what the problem was. So if you do catch any of these stitchings here, when you're going back through the hole again, or any time you catch the stitch, it's difficult to do this. And if you pull on this to take the slack out from here, to pull on this, take the slack out of here, I'm going to pull on this piece here. There we go. See how that went down? And then the same thing here. So this shows that I have not caught anything, because if I did catch something, you know, the existing thread here, it'd be very difficult to do this. Believe me, I've learned this the hard way. So because I was very careful and I reamed my hole out with this awl, I can now be assured that I could tighten this, and I did not catch any of the thread with my needle. And now I can go through and tighten things down because the thread here is very independent and has not caught anything. And so there we go. Now if I just pull on that, pull that down, and now everything is tight. Okay, so I've tightened everything down. And now I'm going to pull this tight. So for this last hole on the end here, whoops, looks like I do have a little tear there, but I don't know what that's from. All right, so again, I'm going to take my needle through, just like we've been doing before, pop it through here first. And then after that, I'm going to loop around and go through this here, because we're on the end here. So pop it through here. Like so, and then I'm going to go through this one. Just like so. Okay, now I'm not going to go back through this hole. We're going to get our last signature plus the cover. And I'm going to put it on there, line it up a little bit. And now we're going to take our needle. Now there's a variation from here. We can add this signature, this last signature, the same way we go through the process. If we did it that way, and then we add the cover to it, going back this direction, I don't prefer that, because then I'll have a stitching through here, and then we put the cover on it and we'll have another stitching going the other way. So we'll have two layers of thread going through if I were to do it in that option. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have it so there's one continual stitch going this direction with the cover all in one shot. And this way I will have the last signature plus the cover in this last step. Does that make sense? Okay, so here we go. I'm not going to go through the signature. I'm going to first go through the cover, this first hole, pop it through the cover, go through, and I want to be let's see, I want to be on the right side this time of the cover. So take my needle, and I want to be over here. Okay, so far I've just gone through the cover, but not through that last signature. Because what I want to do next is I want to go through this last signature that we added, not the new one that we're adding now, but the last one that we've installed. And I'm going to go through and put my needle through there. From right to left. And just like before, because we're on the end, I'm going to go through next this signature that we're going to add now, between that and that last signature we installed down here. So that gives us our little loop. And pull tight, pull up. Okay, next I'm going to go through the hole. Of the signature, which is this here. Okay, after going through this first hole, I'm going to pull tight, making sure that's lined up okay. All right. And I'm going to go through this next hole, pull through. And now I'm going to go through this cover, back down, and end up on the right side of this loop here. And then I'm going to catch this bottom stitch here, or the station between, not this this new signature, but this last one that has been installed. This in between that and this, the one down below it there. And I'm going to pop through here like that, and then back through the hole. Like so. Okay, that way I could tighten it up, but not like hydraulic tight. Don't pull like a pro wrestler or anything like that. Just snug through the next hole. After going through the hole, I go through the cover hole. Now I know that sometimes they'll want to, after going through this hole here, they'll come down and pick up the stitch here. I go through the hole and I pick up the cover, then I go through the stitch. And the reason why I do that is it's easier to tighten things up. And I'll show you what I mean in the process. So I'm not so worried about having things loose. Well, I'm trying to keep it tight as I possibly can. And you notice my stitch is going from left to right. And it should be around this. See, I got that caught there. It should be around this loop here. Okay. There, that's better. All right. And now I'm going through the hole. This way. Through the next hole. So the reason why I stitch it this way is, so now I can take this and kind of pull on these loops here, and it should, if everything went right, I could pull on the next one, and if I pull here, that should go down, and it does work. See how that went down? Now I got this loop here. Now this is because I didn't catch any of those stitchings that were already in place, and I didn't loop it twice. I just looped it once, and that will allow me to tighten things up thusly. So if I pull this, it should cinch right up, and that keeps everything tight. And I could be loose at the very beginning, and it works out quite nicely. So we'll continue, we'll go through the hole. So here, some people will stitch after they come out through the hole here. They'll go through and loop here, stitch underneath, and then pick up the cover, and then stitch here again, and then go back through the hole. What I'm doing is I'm coming out the hole, then I'm going directly to the cover. And after I pick up the cover, like I'm going to show you here, and come out to the right, like that. So after I pick up the cover, then next I will go through and pick up this stitch down below here. So you see where I'm at? And pop through with the needle. All right, and pull tight. And back through the hole. And because I'm reaming the hole each time, I'm making certain that I do not catch the stitch with a needle going through. And that keeps things so that I can tighten the way that I just showed you. And this I learned the hard way from experience. Okay, let me see if I can get that hole. Whoops. Need to move this out of the way. And I've got my finger so that I'm have this signature kind of open. So I'm ready to grab the needle there and making sure the needle goes all the way through. So I don't know if you can see this hole, but I'm going through clean without catching any of the existing thread. And I can open that up easily, and it comes through. And if I pull tight here, this loop should go down. Let me demonstrate that. So if I were to loosen this, or pull this loop, I don't know if you could see that there's like a little bit of slack right there. If I pull this, there, see that slack went away. And now I'm not going to worry about if the rest of these holes are loose, because after I work on this last hole, I can just pull on these loops like I did before and tighten everything up. And it makes things nice. It does hold everything in place. And I'm doing that because I'm going through the hole, and now I'm catching the cover. Well, just like before, rinse and repeat again. Right side of that loop, and now after I go through the cover, then I'm picking this stitch up here and going through. Like so. And then back through the hole. Okay. Couple more holes to go. Just going to keep going swimmingly here. Whoops, don't catch that all through there. Through the hole, catch the cover. Cover cup, right side. Bottom stitch. Or anchor this whole thing. Back through the hole. Kind of want to move that out of the way, the thread that is. Last hole. Come on, there we go. Cover, right side, and anchor stitch, back through the hole, and I can tell this is loose, but I'm not worried about it. Okay. What I am worried about is going through the hole cleanly. And I want to move this thread out of the way, like so. I don't know if you can see that hole right there. This cover is kind of in the way. There we go. So there's your hole. And I'm moving that thread over just like this so that I can pop my needle through that hole right there cleanly without catching that thread. And I'm going off to the right of that hole. This is still, I don't feel that I'm getting through cleanly, so I'm going to kind of ream this hole from this side and see if that's better. Oh yeah, there we go. Very clean. All right. And there we have it. And like I said, this is feeling a little loose here on the end like that. Before I tie off here, I want to go make sure that all these are tight, but not too tight. Don't be like a WMA wrestler or something, or a hydraulic tight, but just snug. And this loop is going to be drawn from this loop here, or this stitch here. Let's see how that goes down. There we go. All right, see that loop there is going to go down if I pull this. Like so. There we go. All while I'm trying to keep this aligned where I need it to be, this signature and this top cover. Pulling that. There we go. And that goes down. Nice. And we've got a lot more slack. And the last one pulls through nicely. So that keeps things very tight. Maybe a little too tight, I don't know. But now I can put this in either a press, or I can put some books on top of it to weigh it down. And we should be good to go. Okay. Next, I'm going to tie this off. And I'm going to go through this stitch here once, pull through it, makes a loop, like so. And I want to go through the loop once, would be a square knot, and again I'm going to go through it again twice, through the loop again, almost like a surgeon's knot. And now I'm going to pull tight. That should give you a knot snug enough to keep everything in place. And I can cut the tag in here with some scissors. And voila, we're done. And this is what I have left over. I've got maybe a length. So I could have used 14 of these lengths. I used 15 instead, just for good measure. And so yeah. Now, like I said before, I have done this before. This would be my second time stitching this all the way through. I'm quite pleased with it. A little bit better than it was before. So what I've learned was, if you need to, for any reason at all, undo the stitching, if you want it to be clean, you can cut this knot that I've tied here. Just get underneath it and cut it, snip it. And this should just pull right out like you see in the sack of rice or sack of beans, where the stitching just pulls right out. And you can take off, this comes right off. Actually, I take that back. The cover would have to unstitch. After the cover's removed, then you can go through and it should just pull right out. And this signature will be easy to remove. After that, you'll have this other stitching here, and you'll have this loose tag in, it'll just pull right out. And just keep going for the entirety, however much you need to unravel this thing. That's how it comes apart. Okay, so that's complete. This cover is back off a little bit. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that this way, or if I point the camera this direction, you can see that this, this is the back cover. The back is slightly this direction. I'm going to pull that a little bit like this, just kind of work it forward and put it in a press. My version of a press is that 2 blocks of wood that I showed you with books on top of it, weighing it down. All right, so that's the back cover. Here's the front. And it's exactly how I want it and like it. All right, this is a really good way to have your customized sketchbook. Like I said, it lays flat, like I said in another video before. And you could go to any page you want in this book, it'll just lay flat. Very nice. Okay, that's it for this video tutorial on how I created this watercolor sketchbook using these Canson watercolor 140 cold press pages. And I hope this works out for you, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.